Bitcoin is regulated. Bitcoin is regulated by algorithm. And when you have a decentralized system that challenges the very paradigm of centralized institutions, the natural, the simplest, the immediate solution to any of its problems is a centralized institution. And that solution is obvious, it's easy to implement, and it is wrong. Instead, what we should be looking at is not to centralize Bitcoin under centralized regulation, but to decentralize the controls and powers and to make regulation unnecessary. Regulation is a solution to centralized control over money, because centralized control over money corrupts those who have that control, and they need to be watched. And the entire edifice of regulation is an expression of the failure to decentralize control over money. Bitcoin decentralizes control over money, and therefore it will require a lot less regulation. Almost all of the failures we've seen in Bitcoin happen at the fringes, and they happen as expressions of centralized institutions that take custodial control over people's money. And those will fail. We've known this for 3,000 years. My ancestors in Greece talked about the corrupting influence of power, and nothing has changed in these 3,000 years. When you give control over massive amounts of money to a few individuals, they will take advantage of that control. So the question is, what is necessary in terms of regulation of Bitcoin? I find it ironic that the regulators who failed to control the great theft of 2008 and then failed again to control all of the rigged markets we've seen since are now so interested in regulating a nascent cryptocurrency that in its very nature is able to support deregulated, decentralized control through algorithms, and essentially solves the problem of centralized control over money a much better way by removing the control rather than by requiring layers of regulation. So what I hope to see is the regulators provide clarity. The truth is that regulation in the banking system is used as a competitive advantage by the banks. It's used to stifle competition because the banks can afford to spend tens of millions of dollars to create barriers to entry to any incumbent who's going to disrupt the existing system. The existing banking system is cozy, it's captured the regulators, it extracts enormous value from society without delivering anything in return, and it is parasitic in nature in most societies. And so the question is, do we need to regulate Bitcoin in order to wipe it out as competition against the banks? Or should we be regulating the banks and forcing them through compulsory licensing to support Bitcoin in order to, for the first time in history, provide competitive disruption to the banking industry that desperately needs to be disrupted competitively by a non-incumbent, because that edifice of corruption is now untouchable by regulators. So rather than thinking about how we regulate Bitcoin to make Bitcoin safer, what we need to be thinking about is how we regulate the banking system in order to open it up to competition, because competition serves consumers, and the banking system hasn't served consumers for a very long time. It's ripe for disruption.